start. Jeffrey, it's all you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the summer full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. My name is Jeffrey LeFrancois, and as always, it's a privilege to be calling this meeting to order this evening as chair. Thank you to the Friends of the Highline for hosting us tonight. It's a treat and a privilege for, of course, those who are there. Tonight, we're attempting and will achieve a lot of firsts. So I ask for patience and indulgence as we work our way through this meeting. For starters, I am sorry I cannot be at this meeting tonight in person. On Monday, I tested positive for COVID. Thankfully, I'm double vaxxed and double boosted, so my case is very mild. But I'm stuck here at home. My new summer suit is in the closet, and I'm just wearing a standard blue collared shirt for you all this evening through the squares. This is our first hybrid meeting, which means folks will be able to participate fully in person and virtually. Huge thanks in advance to Jesse, our district manager, and the board staff for helping make this happen. Tonight's meeting, both the in-person and Zoom participants, is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded. The meeting will live on our YouTube channel and is accessible by the public. During the public session, members who have signed up to speak in advance will be given the ability to speak during the public session. Please note, for the public session and during the business portion of the meeting, we will be taking comments from participants in person and then going through the list on Zoom. I also note for board members that during the business portion of the meeting, if you are presenting or plan to comment on a letter, you must do so from one of the designated microphones in the space so we are all able to hear, and it comes through on YouTube. If you did not sign up through our website to speak in the public session, you have until 7 p.m. to do so by signing up in person or using the raise hand function on Zoom. The agenda for tonight's meeting can be found on our website, MCB4 to NYC, and is also being circulated. On process this evening, I'll be managing the top portion of our agenda, and we'll be passing the gavel over to our esteemed first vice chair, Jessica Chait, to run the business portion of the meeting. So with that, the first item up, a presentation from the folks at the city's Redistricting Commission. 2 years ago, we all filled out the census, and accordingly, new representation maps for government are being drawn. Last week, a draft was released for the new maps of the New York City Council. So tonight we welcome Ali, whose last name I'm going to butcher, Rosaline Jad from the city's Redistricting Commission to present an overview of the process and a picture of the CB4 maps. Ali?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great.
Yes.
We have a PowerPoint. Can we get that shared on the screen? So my name is Ali Rasulinejad, as Jeffrey said. I'm Chief of Staff at the New York City Districting Commission. I'm going to run through a primer that we have available on our website. It's also at the front desk if you'd like to pick up a copy. Obviously, the folks on Zoom, you can go to our website. It'll be at the end of this presentation. I'm going to make this pretty quick because I know the board has limited time and there's a lot to cover tonight. All right, so next slide, please. So the Districting Commission, we have 15 commissioners. They are listed here along with our senior staff. Next slide. A bit of an introduction, as the chair mentioned, the US Constitution requires a census of the population every 10 years. I imagine most folks here tonight took part in this process. Next slide. The New York City Districting Commission in turn uses the information from the census to stick to the constitutional mandate. Sorry, is there some feedback? Okay. To help our city stick to the constitutional mandate of one person, one vote. That means the commission is tasked with drawing 51 new city council maps to ensure that the population of our 51 council districts are roughly equal to each other. We will get into that on a future slide. Just a quick note on the composition of our commission. It's 15 members, 7 are appointed by the mayor, 8 are appointed by the council, 5 from the council's majority, and 3 from the second largest delegation of the council being the Republicans. The criteria for choosing commission members varies based on the appointee, but they include borough, party, minority status, and diversity. Next slide, please. So why does this all matter? The city's population grew by roughly 600,000 people from the previous census to the 2020 census. That means now that our 51 council districts, their population is out of whack. The ideal number per district, if you just take that 8.8 million and divide it by 51, is up here. It's a little under 173,000. That is our ideal number, but we will get back to that in just a second. Next slide, please. I think folks here and hopefully folks watching understand why redistricting is important. The city council is a co-equal branch of government with the mayor, the legislative to the executive, and has power not only over the city's budget, but votes on a number of items, including land use items, finance items, legislation. Next slide, please. All right, so population trends, we touched on this before. The city's population grew by over 600,000 people in between the 2010 census and 2020 census. The majority of that growth comes from our Asian population. The Hispanic population also grew by about 150,000 people. Meanwhile, the city's Black and white populations have shrunk slightly, and you'll see those numbers up here. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, so this was another pin that we had. So we have a sense of the landscape for what New York City's population demographics look like. That is our landscape. Now, the regulations which we build these new council maps on, that's what we'll be going in through on these next few slides. Population deviation. So we have that ideal number, that number that's slightly under 100,000. Sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing that. But population deviation is we're allowed, state law allows a 5% deviation in between our council districts. So between the least populous district and the most populous district cannot exceed 5%. This was state law that was signed by Governor Hochul last year. Next slide, please. So hopping up from state law to federal law, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is another foundational piece of the redistricting process. It says that whenever we are conducting redistricting, we must not deny or dilute the voting power of racial and language minorities. Next slide, please. This is tied into our city charter, which lays out a number of criteria that are on here on your screen. Whether you're on Zoom or in person, they're on your screen. The charter criteria, as they are listed in the charter, are in priority order. So we have 1, keeping neighborhoods and communities intact, 2, keeping districts intact, speaking in terms of neighborhoods, 3, limiting the crossover districts from one borough to another, 4, avoid splitting voters of the same political party, 5, avoiding oddly shaped districts, such as no district can be twice as long as it is wide. And on the next slide, we have 2 more items here. Contiguous districts requires some connection between one part of a district to another, whether by bridge, tunnel, ferry, tram, and also the limit on crossover districts, which I believe I mentioned on the previous slide, actually. Next slide. So timelines, as I've heard from a few of you already, folks are aware that our local city redistricting process is underway. Obviously, there was a state and federal redistricting process that was recently completed and got a lot of attention. But on the local level, the commission held its first round of hearings, public hearings for folks to give feedback on what the new city council map should look like. These hearings were held from May to July, and we are now going into another hearing period in August, and we'll have more on that in just a second. But the commission's timeframe will have us finalizing maps towards the end of this year, early next year. Next slide, please. So here are those dates we were speaking about. You see here the 5 public hearings that the commission held starting on May 25th in Manhattan and ending July 7th at Staten Island Borough Hall. Folks are welcome to come and speak at any hearing. You don't have to speak at the hearing in the borough you'd like to speak about, or if you'd like to speak about citywide issues. There will be public hearings taking place in mid-August. You see on this slide from August 15th to August 22nd is where we're looking to have these hearings. We will have locations and exact times announced shortly, but the commission's preliminary plan was released earlier this month on July 15th. You are welcome to comment on those maps. You are welcome to bring in your own maps. You are welcome to just give feedback on your block. And then once the commission holds its 5 August hearings, one in each borough, our 15 commissioners will meet and they will work on developing a new plan. That new plan will be submitted to the city council on September 22nd. Next slide, please. So once the city council receives that plan on September 22nd, the council can choose to approve or not take any action on the updated city council maps, which in that case, the process starts to wind down, or the council can formally object to the maps. In that case, we do this whole process again. The commission meets again, it releases revised drafts, it hosts another round of public hearings, and then that's when we start to hit that end of the year timeline that we talked about before, a December to February timeline when the commission will be submitting its final maps. Once the commissioners, 9 out of 15 commissioners vote to make the plan final, that will be the end of the process. It does not go back to the city council after that. Next slide, please. Here are some resources. Again, this PowerPoint is on our website. So for the folks in person, you can go on and click on them. The Department of City Planning has some great census data, and they've broken it down in some really cool, kind of nifty ways. We encourage folks to check that out. Obviously, New York City Open Data has great stuff. And this last bullet over here, District R, is a really neat tool that you can build your own city council districts online. It includes the measure of the ideal number, so you know what you're targeting and you can break down data within that. Today, about an hour ago, the commission put out a press release announcing that we have now a District R map layer. It's available on our website. That's nyc.gov/districting. And you can click on that link and you can go build your own city council maps. And you can save those and you can submit them to the commission. Just make sure you're sending the link to the map that you have saved and you are sending it to the commission. Next slide, please. And send it to this email, publictestimony@redistricting.nyc.gov. You can send written testimony. You can send the maps you have drawn using District R. You can send just feedback you have, on a certain block. You can send, your portion of the worldview for what things look like. You can send the entire city council. It's all up to you. You can obviously also come to the commission's public hearings in August. And you can actually also mail us your testimony if you'd like. We're at 250 Broadway, 3rd floor, New York, 1007. Our contact is listed on here in terms of public testimony. And if you can lift that bar, the camera bar, you can also see our general contact information. Folks are welcome to email us with any follow-up questions, or if you'd like to request community outreach in a certain part of CB4, we are happy to field that as well. And our website's on here as well. And if we have time for some questions, happy to take those.
Thanks, Ali. I believe one of our board members does have a question.
Thank you,
Leslie?
Jeffrey.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I think I'm going to speak for a lot of people here. I wouldn't want to assume that, but I think a lot of people might have the same question as far as Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen was districted into 3 different city council districts. We're a very small neighborhood, maybe 30 block, it goes from, as you may or may not know, around the Columbus Circle area down to about the 30s. And now I'm in one city council district with the new redistricting maps, with Stuytown and the Upper East Side. Our chair, Jeffrey, who is a short walk from me, is on the Upper West Side district. And Jessica over here is in another district. So that slide you had of what you tried to keep neighborhoods intact and all that, it seemed like you violated all of them with Hell's Kitchen. So we just want to know if you guys are aware of this and if you're working on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. As a former resident of CB4, I am somewhat aware of the geography. I think what you've just mentioned is ideal for public testimony to be written into the commission, to be spoken in front of the commissioners on, for these mid-August hearings. I can't speak to the maps myself. I'm a staffer on them. The maps are decided by the 15 commissioners as staff. We inform them with data, we inform them with the law from our legal department, and we help facilitate public testimony to them. And those are the three things that they really consider when they get together to work on these. But certainly that is something we have heard. Testimony is all public. So when you submit something, it's online. I'm not sharing any secrets here. We have definitely heard that. Yeah.
Thanks, Leslie. We'll go to Matt Green for the final question. Matt?
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks for the presentation. For the upcoming public hearings in mid-August, will those be both in person and held virtually?
Yes, the July hearings were held in that format, which is kind of exactly what we're doing today. And the August hearings will also be in that format. Folks can come in person and sign up to testify, or folks can sign up on our website and testify on Zoom.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm sure you'll be hearing more from Board 4 in terms of the public testimony. And we really appreciate the presentation on process today. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda, passing it over to Jessica, our first vice chair for the public session. Jessica.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So we are again doing hybrid for this section. So we're going to start with our in-person sign up, which is Preeti Sodhi, excuse me, and you can join us at the mic. As a reminder, everyone will have 2 minutes to speak, and I'll set the timer. And after Preeti, we will go to our online segment. Just a second, Preeti, you may begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Preeti Sodhi. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at the Highline. It's really exciting to have the meeting on the park today. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the programming that we have at the Highline right now. We've spent this year building some community responsive programming. We've always tried to develop programming that meets the needs of specific populations from across the city, but especially for the residents of CB4. And thank you to CB4 for always sharing our programming with the public through your newsletters and other touch points. So just wanted to talk about a few different programs that we have coming up. We also have flyers for all of our programs in English and other languages at the table that's next to the check-in table here. So if you need to grab anything, there are flyers there, and we can send you digital versions as well. So some programming that we've started this year was some wellness programming that was also catered to the needs of a lot of our seniors. We did Senior Fit, we did Tai Chi, and we have 2 more sessions of Senior Fit developed in partnership with Penn South Program for Seniors coming up in September. So that's something that we have coming up. We have our family programs through our education department that are continuing into August that are also tied into our exhibition. We hold these truths, which you can see on the other side of 14th Street Passage. We have Art of Expression, which is a teen program that's developed and executed by our Highline teens. It's this Friday on the park. July 29th from 5 to 9, and it's geared towards teens and young adults, 14 to 21. There's going to be art making, dancing, food tasting, performances. So again, that's 5 to 9 this Friday on the Highline. And then also we brought back Arriba, which is our Latin dance night in July. It was on July 14th. It was the first time since the pandemic. We had almost 500 people attend. And our next iteration of that is on August 11th here on the Highline. So we have flyers for that as well at the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are now going to go to our sign up, which we believe everyone has signed up online, but if anybody signed up and is suddenly now in person, please just give a wave. But for now, we'll start, we'll do Tom Lunke, followed by Irene Kelly, and then Lisa Wager. Great. And Tom, are you with us? Tom, are you? You have to unmute. Tom, you are muted.
I'm sorry. I'm still not used to Zoom, but can you hear me now?
In person next time. We'll give you we can hear you.
sorry.
We'll give you
Okay.
2 minutes
all right.
now.
Thank you. I just wanted to give my thanks to you, the Chelsea Land Use Committee, Jesse, and all the other board members who have diligently supported Eric K. Washington's effort to landmark former colored school number 4 on West 17th Street. And I look forward to working with all of you to continue this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for keeping it brief. Okay, we're going to go next to Irene Kelly. Irene, can you join us and unmute yourself?
Hi, how are you?
Great, we hear you. You have 2 minutes.
Great. So I am joining in support of the Land Use Committee's letter to deny permission for 353 West 20th Street, the addition there for a roof and addition to the back. We have had a lot of issues with these neighbors, and they have had a permit for about 10 years now that is renewed every 5 years. It's a developer that's working on it, and he has not been in contact with us about the construction. They've already actually started work on the building even after they were denied permission from the committee. So we would just like to voice our support and hope that in the future, if they are given permission, they'll be notified that they cannot do any construction on our property. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. We'll go to Lisa Wager, and then after Lisa will be Pamela and Eric Washington. Lisa, are you with us?
I am.
Great, your 2 minutes starts now.
Hello, my name is Lisa Wager. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology, SUNY College on 27th between 7th and 8th. I had several fun and interesting things to discuss, but I left my remarks in the printer at work. So all that I remember with enough detail to be meaningful is that I wanted to update you on the progress with our new academic building, which is the first new academic building we've built in nearly 50 years. We have reached the 10th floor, which is the top floor. The steel is up. It's very exciting. It's all progressing well. It will be LEED silver when it's completed because there are a number of interesting, innovative, and also familiar and useful sustainability measures in the building. And that's really all I can retain of any details of what I was going to say. There are a few cool things online, but I don't know the addresses, so we'll just go with this. And have a great rest of the summer. We'll see you in September. Stay cool.
Thank you, Lisa. And you can send those over to Jesse and we'll include them in our newsletter. Okay, we'll go to Pamela. If you can unmute and maybe just wait a second while that fire truck goes by.
I am unmuted. Can people hear me?
We can hear you. I think you're good to go. Your two minutes starts.
Thank you. First, I want to second what Tom Lunke had to say about Eric Washington's project, the school on 17th Street. That's a very exciting thing, and I've got my fingers crossed for it. I really wanted to talk about something really exciting that happened yesterday morning here in Chelsea, and I'm sure Joe Restuccia and Eric Botcher as well will have much more comprehensive comments to make about it. But yesterday morning, there was a groundbreaking ceremony for what we in Chelsea call the buildings from hell. There were the 7th Avenue and 22nd Street, the southwest corner is a little row of 4 very ancient, very decrepit houses. that are going to be demolished with our great approval in this community. And there will rise a 9-story building, which is a lovely building that has been designed by its architect, Amy Gross, in such a way that it's very appropriate and it's very contextual with this neighborhood. It will house 26 affordable apartments of various sizes. The 5 families that were remaining in those buildings over the decades. The buildings have been in the possession of the city for 44 years now. Those few families that remained there and held on will be returning to those homes. It's just the most exciting thing that has happened, and it's just the best news, and I just wanted to share it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. We're going to go to Eric Washington and then Melody Bryant and then Kira Levy. Eric, are you with us?
Yes, hi, I'm Eric K. Washington. Just a brief but sincere word of thanks to Chelsea Land Use Committee for your diligence in preparing this letter that you'll be showing the draft of. I can't say loudly or more emphatically how I appreciate your getting behind this project, and your diligence has paid off. Some of you may have already seen an article came out NBC News last week that has already generated a whole new slew of interest. That's included just this afternoon. I got an invitation from the Tavis Smiley radio show in Los Angeles. They're just launching a new radio program. I think I might be the first one, but it's tomorrow. And the New York City Municipal Archives has started tweeting because a lot of the information that I've been able to supply has come from the city's resources. So thank you again for your diligence in working on this project. And hopefully this time next year we'll be inside.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for all of your work. Melody Bryant, are you with us?
Yes.
Great,
Am I
your
heard?
2 minutes.
Okay, great. So this is Melody Bryant. I'm so sorry I can't be with everybody, but the technology here is amazing. The cutaways, the dissolves, I'm very impressed. So I'm founder and manager of West 22nd Open Street in Chelsea. And on September 4th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., which is basically Labor Day weekend, we are holding an event to illustrate what 73% of the block and its neighbors asked for. More greenery and 5-mile-an-hour speed limit for drivers, basically a garden street. So our event will demonstrate to the DOT what such a street would look like, and we're going to make it ourselves. With chalked bump outs, tables and chairs, and full street closure. There will be music and beverage giveaways and more opportunity to complete the survey. There will also be, we'll also reach out to local press, of course, and you're all invited. We don't have flyers yet, but we're working on them and we'll send them out to CB4. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Kira.
Good evening. It's actually Tom Linden from Hudson River Park. Great to be there. Great to be with everybody. Wanted to give a mid-season report. Hudson River Park's free in-person events and programs are at the halfway point of the season, and we've been very well received this summer. The Healthy on the Hudson fitness programs continue, featuring interval training workouts at Pier 46 on Wednesdays, yoga at Pier 64 on Thursdays, and relaxation, meditation, and peaceful Pilates on Friday at Pier 84, all presented by Lululemon. The Jazz Series at Pier 84 continues with performances on August 3rd, 17th, and the 31st at 7 p.m. in partnership with the Jazz Foundation of America. The one-day 5-borough Festival of New York takes place on August 6th. It's the city's biggest dance party. In collaboration with the Joyce Theater, Hudson River Park will present pop-up performances of Black Grace at Pier 64. The River Project Wet Lab Research Aquarium continues to offer hands-on environmental science programs in August, 3 days a week at Pier 40. And we invite everyone to come out to the Big City Fishing Catch and Release programs on Sundays at Pier 51. The Pier 84 is the location Tuesday nights in August for Bollywood and Bhangra participating dancing, and that includes lessons. And the park's bike safety program continues at Pier 76 on Saturday, August 20th. Don't forget the Blues Barbecue Festival. We'll be back on August 13th this year at Pier 76, featuring 5 blues bands and a great sampling of barbecue restaurants. The festival begins at 1 and goes until 9 p.m. And also mark your calendars for the return in the fall of Submerge Marine Science Festival, October 14th and 15th at Pier 84. And for a complete list of all programs this summer, go to our website, hudsonriverpark.org/events. Thank you and look forward to seeing you in Hudson River Park.
Thank you, Tom. All right, Mr. Chair, that concludes our public session. Oh, I'm sorry, we have someone in the audience. Did you sign up? Oh, for the public session? Oh, Kamala, please. Yes, you did sign up. Sorry, we didn't realize you're here. You can join us at the mic. And we can just run down that list one more time, make sure we have everyone. Your 2 minutes starts.
Hi, thank you. I'm a Chelsea resident, lifelong, and I have 2 concerns. I don't know if this is the right forum, but the first one, last night I observed 30 rats on the corner of 19th and 8th, living under the outdoor dining area. And my parents also observed a proliferation of rats in front of Murray's. And I think that as much as I love the platforms for eating, they've become a haven for rat communities. So I think we're gonna be knee deep in rats if something isn't done soon about the platforms that they're living under. That said, my other main concern is that 8th Avenue is starting to look like 42nd Street in the 80s. It's sex shops and drugs and prostitution and mentally ill people and just a lot of things going on. And I don't know if it's the sex shops that are the root of it, but they're open all night and it's attracting a very dangerous element. So I'm very concerned about how the neighborhood is looking, especially on 8th Avenue between 23rd to 17th Street. I don't know if this issue has been raised by anyone else. I'm talking to the precinct. I think they're having a community outreach tomorrow. But as far as I know, everybody in my neighborhood that we talk about it every time we're like, what's going on 8th Avenue? It's starting to look really crazy. So I don't know if something can be done to regulate the sex shops because I think that they're the root of it, the prostitution and the drugs. But yeah, they're living in the scaffolds. There's just something going on and it's definitely gotten worse like in the last 10 years. So yeah, that's my concerns.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and you're in the right place. We talk about these issues regularly, come to our committees. Thank you for sharing your concerns. The other folks who had signed up, who I don't think are here, but we'll just do one final call, Denise Kim, Stephanie Altman, Kate Gunger, Dean Deutmeyer. Okay, I think. All right, Mr. Chair, that concludes our public session.
Thank you, Jessica. On to the adoption of the agenda. I've been notified there's a new business item this evening. So I am looking for that to be a motion to be made to add to the agenda. Mr. Devlin, are you close to a microphone?
I am. I don't know if it's trying. I'd like to make a motion to add a new business item to discuss the redistricting information we heard today.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, so any additional questions on the agenda as amended? Any objections? Abstentions are present, not eligible? Great, the agenda is adopted as amended. The minutes from our June meeting. Any questions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion on the minutes, please. Thank you. Is there a second? I see hands for a second. Any objections? Minutes are adopted. Thanks. Okay, moving on to our elected officials reports. Councilmember Botcher, I believe I saw a tall statuesque elected official walking around in person. So Mr. Botcher, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey. Your board chair is looking out for you because he called my chief of staff and said, make sure Eric doesn't talk again too long this time. So I'm going to try to speak quickly. A word about redistricting. We're going to be having a redistricting town hall, and the redistricting commission is going to come and present. We're going to widely publicize the public comment sessions. I really want everyone to come out and talk about what they've done in that first map with Hell's Kitchen, because Council District 3 has to shrink because we had the biggest population growth of any council district in the city. But the way they did it was very strange, and I'm confident that I'm pretty sure that they're going to fix it once they hear from everyone, but we have to turn out in big numbers. The Adams administration has resumed placing homeless folks in hotels due to the shelter system being overwhelmed. They put 100 homeless single men in the Travel Inn on West 42nd Street. And at the Skyline Hotel, there's about 210 homeless families. At the Skyline Hotel, a huge percentage of those families are asylum seekers who come from the border. The states of Arizona and Texas are sending folks here from Texas on buses. There's a number of nonprofits sending folks here on buses. So the Adams administration anticipates that even more folks are going to come. We're going to welcome them and help them. We're going to have a supplies drive. I think there's going to be more folks coming in, more hotels. I got a call today about in Community Board 5 in Times Square, putting 600 rooms for more families, mostly asylum seekers in Times Square for asylum seekers. What I've said to the administration is we need to ensure that these are more distributed throughout my council district, Council District 3, and what I want to do is sit with the community board and them and go hotel by hotel in other parts of the district and, really help them identify places for these. Very heartbreaking situation, but we have to do it the right way. Today, the Landmarks Subcommittee, we voted on the MTA Site Project. We're all familiar with that. And we, after working very closely with Community Board 4 and many of you, we got a number of wins. In the site, there's going to be 27 units at 80% AMI, 8 units at 100% AMI, and 4 units at 120% AMI. Those are all going to be 2 bedrooms with some 3 bedrooms. We got below market retail space for Styles Market in the ground floor. And that was countless phone calls and fights to get that. They've got to agree on the rent. They agreed to do below market. So when that building's done, we're gonna have to ensure that they get a portion of that site. But that's a big win because Styles, as you know, was destroyed a few years ago. So we're hoping to bring him back to that site. We made a lot of progress with the design. We worked closely with Community Board 4. We even went to the site and they brought, Hudson brought brick samples because originally it looked like a brutalist gray concrete thing. And by the end, we're very close. We're almost there. The brick color is almost there, but they've committed to meet us with us again in the next month or so to figure out the design. And they agreed to construct a portion of the facade on the parking lot so we can actually see how the brick looks. Because when you see it together, it looks different than just a couple of bricks. The management of the building will not be Housing Works. It'll be the whole building. It'll be Lisa Management is going to be the property manager. Housing Works will manage the 59 supportive units. The building will be Hudson's Lisa Management. That was a ask of the community board. They've committed, a big concern of mine, a big priority of mine was to ensure that for the supportive units, that we actually do serve long-term survivors of AIDS with from the community, from Community Board 4, with a connection to Community Board 4. And they committed to working to get people who have a connection to Community Board 4, their last known address, familial ties, other ties to Community Board 4, long-term survivors of HIV and AIDS. The zoning changes. Countless phone calls, many calls with Community Board 4 and city planning. We got a number of changes. The initial zoning was going to be the whole block from 53rd to 54th, 8th to 9th. Got it reduced to that one lot. Many text changes that would have applied to the whole special district, had them tailored only to that district. A number of specific text changes. A letter from Dan Garodnick, chair of the City Planning Commission, talking about reaffirming that this is specific to this site only. And at today's vote, I talked about the special district and how important that is, and how important it is that when we do anything in the special district, that it not be used as something to affect the whole district. So I really want to thank everyone who worked on this. I want to thank Community Board 4. I want to thank my staff. It's been a long road and we didn't get everything we wanted, but we worked very hard on this. And today we voted it out of the committee. Tomorrow we vote on it at the Landmarks Committee and then in the full board next month. 412 West 46th Street. I'm sorry, Jeffrey, I'm going as fast as possible. 412 West 46th Street, you probably know. It's been, that's a building that the Department of Buildings has ordered demolished. It's a classic example of a landlord letting a building deteriorate. There was a fire, forced out the residents, didn't fix the building. The Department of Buildings said at the end of last year that that building has to come down because it's not safe. My first letter as a council member was to save that building. And we've put them off the last 7 months. They are now saying that that building is a danger because it shows a party wall with 410. And I'm arranging a meeting with DOB and the community board and the block association because we got to get out there with what's going on there. It's very dangerous. There's a potential buyer. It's a whole thing, but I just want to put that on everyone's radar because that's a big problem and a classic example of what landlords have been doing for many, many years. Good news on the 7 train. We've been pushing, I've been on the phone. My big ask with the MTA and Hochul all year has been the 7 train station. And today we found out that the MTA has added the 7 train to their 20-year needs assessment document, which is the first sign of progress we've had on the 7 train in a very long time. And then, the next 2 years, they're going to be studying that, and then we'll know if it makes it onto their 2025, 2029 capital plan. We're going to have a bunch of organizing around this because we need that 7 train. 10th Avenue bike lane. A lot of you were there when we stood outside of on 10th Avenue outside of Target, and Yadira spoke to get a bike lane on 10th Avenue. DOT was going to come sometime next year and do it the year after. Good news, they're going to come this fall and start the construction in the spring. Big win because it's very, very dangerous. I think that's it. The buildings, I was going to talk about the Till buildings, but Pam said everything. So that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. That's not it, but I'm trying to be brief for Jeffrey. We're having a phone bank on Monday for marriage equality, a phone bank on Monday. It's going to the Senate. We're going to be, so you'll get an email for that from me.
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I believe we have Assemblymember Dick Godfried online with us tonight.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Jeffrey, I just want to note that while nobody would ever think of describing me as tall and statuesque A few days ago, Senator Hoylman referred to me in public as being venerable. So,
okay. We'll use that next time, Dick.
all right. So a few things to report on. A day or so ago, the Hell's Kitchen Neighborhood Coalition had a meeting with a Zoom meeting with Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, and people from the NYPD and several community organizations, including Board 4 and all the local elected officials about public safety. One of the issues that was mentioned was the problems that states have in getting Medicaid to pay for residential mental health placements. And rather than going into all the details, I just want to say it's an issue that I'm aware of. And while mental health is not really under the jurisdiction of the health committee that I chair, we have a separate mental health committee in the assembly. Medicaid issues are part of our menu, and we are going to be looking into what New York ought to be asking the federal government for permission to cover in the mental health area with Medicaid. We had a special session in Albany in June for a few days. It was called to respond basically to the horrendous Supreme Court decisions dealing with abortion and guns. On abortion, we passed several laws, which Governor Hochul has, several bills that Governor Hochul has signed into law to strengthen New York's role as a welcoming home for people who need abortion services and live in states where it will now be illegal. It's a variety of provisions to provide support to healthcare providers in New York and some other technical issues to protect New York as a beacon for the country. On guns, the Supreme Court said that our more than century-old so-called Sullivan Law that requires a permit in order to have concealed carrying of a firearm, the Supreme Court said it was had too much discretion to the licensing officer and therefore was unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. We responded primarily by banning the possession of guns, whether pistols or rifles or anything else, in a long list of sites within New York, like public parks and healthcare facilities and schools and houses of worship, et cetera. The one specific geographic location that is named in the bill is Times Square. People may wonder why Times Square is named as a specific site in the bill. And I think it's because when we were discussing adding public streets that have been closed off for some particular event, like a block party or something like that, and those sites are now included in the list, several people said, oh yeah, like Times Square, meaning Times Square on New Year's Eve. But the staff that were drafting the bill said, okay, fine, and they put in Times Square. So Times Square, 365 days a year, it will be illegal except for people like police to possess a firearm or a rifle or shotgun in Times Square. I've got about 30 or so bills of mine that passed both houses this year and are still awaiting action by Governor Hochul. A couple dealing with medical debt, one dealing that I sponsored with Senator Hoylman dealing with trying to cut down helicopter noise from tourism helicopters, a bill providing the right to consent to their own medical care for minors who are runaway or homeless youth. There's a long list of bills of mine that that we are hoping the governor will sign. Last topic I want to talk about is Penn Station. As probably everybody knows, the Public Authorities Control Board, which is made up of representatives of one each from the governor, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the Majority Leader in the State Senate. The PACB has to approve pretty much any project by any public authority that involves debt. And as a result of that law, the PACB had to approve. The PACB law requires that any approval has to be unanimous. So the Assembly and Senate representatives voted for the project, but I would note several things. One is that each of the separate building sites in the Penn project, where property owners are proposed to be given additional development rights and then pay for those rights and pay payments in lieu of taxes to the Empire State Development Corporation, which in turn will pay for the state share of the cost of the Penn Station improvement and expansion. Each of those pieces is still going to have to go through the Empire State Development Board and the PACB separately in the future. And that will give all of us, obviously, ultimately lobbying the governor's office and the Assembly leadership and the Senate leadership, another crack at getting further improvements in the plan. We've already gotten a number of things agreed to, thanks to the support of all of our local elected officials and community boards 4 and 5 and a long list of community activists. We got an increase in the affordable housing requirement as part of the plan. On the what they're calling public realm pieces of it, essentially public spaces, we got agreement on providing for a single entity with representatives of the state and the city that will control the development of all the public realm pieces, which the community had been demanding. And there is being created a special public realm task force that will develop the plan that this new entity will then implement. We have gotten agreement for a number of reductions in the total density of the development that the plan will involve, and we're hoping to get more limitations. And finally, a major point that the community and the elected officials were focused on was having the project include supportive social services for homeless people, mentally ill people, et cetera, that are attracted to Penn Station. And there will be increased services to be provided. We are still fighting to get a guarantee that at least some of those services will involve a drop-in center within the future Penn Station itself, so they are easily accessible by homeless people who are in Penn Station. We don't have an agreement on that yet, but I think it's looking pretty good that that's going to happen. So while I'm sure a lot of people in the community have a longer list of items and would have wanted the project rejected, I think the effort that the community and its elected officials put forward have made this a better project, and will continue for improvements in the future. That's it for what I want to talk about tonight.
Thank you for that, Dick. If you'll take a question,
Sure.
Mike Noble.
Yeah, hi, Dick. Thank you. That was a great presentation, I must tell you. It's filled in a lot of the blanks that we've had probably thinking about. But, I was encouraged recently to see that there's discussion about moving Madison Square Garden over to the Western Rail Yards.
Mhm.
Okay, something that the governor has seemed to poo-poo. She doesn't seem all that interested in that because it would, I guess, undermine her overall plan that's in existence now. And to me, it would truly change the complexion of this project, right? It would be great to see the garden moved over. There's a contention between Steve Roth and Steve Ross, obviously. Hudson, related companies would get MSG, and he wanted to put a casino there and MSG. So there's a big, big thing going on with that. Have you heard anything, or what's the vibe in the space that you're in about that?
Well, like Will Rogers used to say, all I know about that is what I've read in the papers. And I think that's all any of us knows, because these discussions between the garden and Manhattan West, nobody even knew that those discussions were going on
Right.
until it leaked to the press. The issue with moving the garden, if the garden were to move somewhere else tomorrow or in the future, that would open up a lot of possibilities about the development of the new Penn Station. And certainly it would get a lot of truck traffic and whatnot out of the area. I would think as you would want it moved to a site that is also public transit intensive, like the site where it now is. And Manhattan West, of course, or Hudson West, Hudson Yards only has the number 7 train stop there, which is more than it used to have, but not as much as the mass transit under Penn Station. The other issue is that if the garden moves, they still own the site. And in order for example, Penn Station to expand into the airspace now occupied by the garden, the state or somebody would presumably have to buy out the garden from its real estate ownership on the site. So there are a lot of complications.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. You would explain that to us. That's really the stalwart. That's the problem. That's the stalling point.
Yeah.
Right?
So as far as I'm concerned, if I woke up tomorrow morning and suddenly Madison Square Garden was either at Hudson Yards or there were proposals to put it further east, that I'd be happy to see that. But making it happen, both in terms of mass transit access and the finances of it, is more complicated.
Thanks, Dick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. And thank you, Dick. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All righty. I believe we have Evelyn Collado from Controller Brad Lander's office with us this evening.
Yes, thank you, Jeffrey. Again, yes, it's Evelyn Collado. I'm the Manhattan Borough Director at the Office of New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. There are a lot of things that are happening in our office, but I wanted to briefly just speak to you about a couple of things that are audit related and that are happening currently. So we have just rolled out our resident power audit of NYCHA survey. This summer we are already visiting NYCHA developments and conducting this survey that will go to inform how our office will conduct audits of NYCHA. And then as we work through those results and analyze the issues that are put forward, we'll be in communication with NYCHA residents asking for feedback. We are also sharing this information on our website under newsroom surveys and then NYCHA survey. Any resident of NYCHA can go online and access it. We also have the information on social media, and I'm more than happy also to share this information with Community Board 4. This is part of the efforts of New York City Comptroller Brad Lander to work in making our city government more efficient and transparent. And part of that is also what informed developing our new audit recommendations tracker. This is a new tool, is a new dashboard that is also available online, where you can track the outcomes from any audits that the Comptroller's Office have issued on or after January 1st of this year. So far, we have had 25 audits under Comptroller Brad Lander. And through this tool, you will be able to track whether, New York City has been following up on our recommendations. So that's it for today. If anyone would like to reach back to our office or get in touch with me, my email is ecollad@comptroller.nyc.gov. And I'm also happy to, get back to you with any information that you might request or any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Moving next to Borough President Mark Levine's office, we have his new liaison to Community Board 4, Yiyi Wang, is with us.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Yiyi Wang. I'm the new liaison for CB4, and really nice meeting you guys virtually today. I do have a couple updates that I want to share with you guys. The first one is the open meeting law. So the Governor Cuomo signed executive order has suspended the open meeting law requirements through August 13, and City Hall extended the city's emergency order through August 24. I know you guys are doing hybrid right now, but if you choose to do virtually, you can always do. And we will, as always, keep you updated as we get notifications on extensions at the city and state level. And about COVID, and Jeffrey, we've seen an increase in both COVID cases and the hospitalization. This doesn't include those who may test positive or not alert a DOH. We encourage those who test positive to talk to their healthcare provider about Paxlovid, the antiviral that may reduce in individual symptoms for those without a healthcare provider. Those test positive can reach out to 212-COVID-19 to receive a prescription same day, and the pharmacist can now provide Paxlovid. So Jeffrey, I don't know if you have developed any symptoms, but if you do, feel free to get Paxlovid. And about monkeypox, cases of monkeypox have also been increasing. So we have urged the state to request more vaccines from the CDC, with roughly 32,000 doses scheduled to arrive through the week. So the BP Mark has released a plan to address this growing issue. Some highlights of the plan include the first, give New York City its fair share of the vaccine. The city represents over 25% of cases nationally, but receive only 10% of national vaccine allocation. This must be increased. Secondly, create a pre-registration appointment portal. The current system of mass appointment rushes creates inequitable distribution of the vaccine. The city should create a pre-registration system that New Yorkers can add their names to at any time. Thirdly, increase access to testing. New York State DOH can make it easier to test by expediting regulatory approval for lab-derived tests in New York State, providing technical support and validating the use of alternative specimen types of like saliva and oropharynx testing. Last, increase access to treatment. The federal government is sitting on 1 million doses of tacovirimat, known to be effective in treating monkeypox. that should be made available like right away. So as I have some really good news to share with you guys. The Manhattan Community Award Program is now open. So this is part of our annual funding of smaller funding grants, typically between 5,000 and 7,500 to nonprofit organizations and public schools to help support programming or operational expenses. So each award is contracted through one of our 4 city agencies: the Department for the Aging, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Education, and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. So each organization's proposals must relate to the specific city agency's overall mission and goals. And this year, our office is also funding a pilot Manhattan composting initiative by setting aside $50,000 to support composting programs throughout Manhattan. Please note, organizations can submit one application for Manhattan Community Award Program, as well as one application for the Manhattan Composting Initiative at a maximum. So please see our website for more information and details on how to apply. I do not see a chat box over here, but the link to the programs are www.manhattanbp.nyc.gov/funding/community grants. This is pretty much all of the updates that I want to share with you guys. And my email address is ywang@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. So if you have any questions or any concerns, you can just direct your email to me. I will just very happy to help you with that. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks very much and welcome. Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda. Mr. District Manager, over to you for your report, please.
Hello? Oh, sorry.
The irony of you being muted this evening.
Hi, Jesse Bodine, District Manager of CB4. Everybody has said everything I was going to say, so I'll be very quick. There's only one committee meeting that's meeting in August, and that is the BLP committee, and that is on August 9th, and that will be completely virtual as per the governor's requirements. And that is about it. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Thank you, Jesse. Okay. Chair's report. Give me one sec, sorry. My tabs are all over the place. I apologize. All right. As many of you are aware, a complaint was made against me to the borough president. I am in receipt of a letter from the borough president regarding this matter. Because it is not board business, I have been advised to not talk about it in the board format, but wanted to briefly address it today based on what has transpired and in the interest of transparency. I apologize to you all for the situation and the inconvenience. I'm going to provide the rest of my updates in somewhat of a reverse order as it relates to the working groups and small meetings. We'll start with small meetings and other events. We provided a slew of testimony in the past 2 months, including this morning at a City Planning Commission hearing regarding the DEP site on 10th Avenue. We also provided testimony at a City Council hearing on the MTA site, and we've continued to meet with Councilmember Bottcher regarding that program. And as he reported today, it's been voted out of the City Council subcommittee. We provided testimony at a New York State hearing on the Penn Station area civic project. We met with Hudson River Park Trust regarding the future of possible development air rights transfers between the park and receivable sites in CB4. And then the Clinton Hell's Kitchen land use leadership met with representatives from the Sheffield building on 57th Street regarding the maintenance at Balsley Park, which is the small park on the southeast corner of 57th and 9th. And then as it relates to working group updates, as has sort of been customary the past couple of months, the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Working Group is on pause as the port continues to revise and prepare its plans to work with us and other agencies to move that forward. The Sanitation Planning Working Group is presenting its product to its to various committees on the board, and they're looking to report that out at our September full board meeting. So stay tuned for that product. The Cannabis Working Group had its first meeting earlier this month, and so their work is underway. So stay tuned for updates from that group accordingly. And finally, on the Penn Station Working Group, Assemblyman Godfrey provided a lot of updates on this. We, for the past 2+ years, it's actually 25 months today, this month, that we've been involved in the project on this with the state. And there is a lot of opposition to this project. CB4's opposition to this project was very specific. I do think it's important to note there were a significant number of things that we can claim as a victory in this project. While there were efforts to stop this, we wanted to make sure that if it was moving forward, there were elements of this plan that we could be proud of. And without question, there are elements in that plan we can be. For starters, when this GPP was presented, 0 housing was required on site. If this project moved forwards as proposed, because of our advocacy and really diligent pushing on this, 1,800 units of housing will be built on site, nearly 700 of which will be permanently affordable. That's a huge, huge victory for housing, given that the number was started at 0, and now there's housing requirements on the site. That is, I think, our most significant victory. We also made some significant gains as it relates to the streetscape and transportation and public transportation improvements in the area. We will be a part of the station advisory group, which will be the advisory committee, sort of like the CAC, for the development of Penn Station. That was also something we fought long and hard for, and are pleased that Board 4, as well as members of the community, will be a part of that group. A surprise in the plan was that supportive housing at Bayview, the former women's prison on 20th Street and Route 9A, was mentioned as a means for mitigation for supportive housing to the site. While this was a surprise, it was a pleasant surprise, given that this has been long a CB4 interest. So we really see it as a conversation starter, but I did immediately flag for the state that while we're happy to have the conversation, it's not necessarily direct mitigation for what's happening at Penn Station for efforts to take place over at 20th Street and the West Side Highway. There are some key components that we're still pushing on. As the Assemblyman did note, we will have continued cracks at this as individual components of the plan go back for ESD board approval. We will continue to push for more housing regardless. And we want to ensure, this is a key component, that any air rights that are sold for development, of which there are about 9.4 million air rights available for sale, those are sold at a market rate. CB4 has a history of pushing really hard to make sure that the city or the state doesn't undervalue its air rights. And we're continuing the clamoring of the bell here to make sure that's possible. So, there'll be a lot wrapped up in how much was lost, or that this was a failure of the state or the community, but huge gains thanks to our participation in advocacy. And I want to give a specific shout out to Lowell, Christine, and Paul. And before that, Betty was a key part of our group for really just driving this home. So special thanks to them on this, and thank you to everybody on this. Is that a hand up or just a wave of your gratitude, Paul? Final flags are let's see. Jesse, am I okay? A thumbs up? I'm guessing no. No, we cannot hear you.
They seem to be on mute.
Yep. Apparently they lost me a minute or so ago.
It's an art installation that just has a timer. So
Look
it's
at
going
that.
off. We're trying to get the Highline to fix it. So if we can just give ourselves a bit of a break, we'll be right back.
Pausing for an artistic commercial.
This is a whole new. On YouTube.
Jeffrey, you want to unmute?
How should I continue the theme of Christmas updates? I'm not sure where I got lost, but just to summarize on Penn, a special thanks to that working group, Paul and Christine and Lowell, and before that, Betty. The work has been significant, and I think the product tremendous. And I think no matter what, in the end, we have a lot to be proud of because we gained a whole lot more because of our consistent advocacy and how we work with the state on this project. So thank you to everybody on this, and looking forward to continuing being involved, of course. Meeting policies, stay tuned for updates on that. As was mentioned earlier, the executive orders have been extended, but we have August off. Jesse, hide because we don't know what they're going to be. Tonight's not just a dress rehearsal, it's a full-on show. So just stay tuned for updates on that. And then finally, I'm not sure if she's present, but I want to welcome a partially new addition to the CB4 family and offer huge congrats to Sarah Mills, who became a mom on January 16th, to Macy Ruth. Sarah, congrats to you and your family from all of us, and best wishes. Okay, now, if this hasn't been odd enough already for half virtual, half in person, a few things before we move into business, and Jessica takes us forward. Just to summarize again, co-chairs who are in person will be expected to stand to the microphone to present their letter. Any member of the board wishing to speak on an item shall line up at the microphone. Those on Zoom will use the raised hand function and will do in person followed by Zoom. As a courtesy to our co-secretaries this evening, please, we are asking all board members in person and online to state your name before speaking tonight. And then finally, just on voting, we will do one roll call vote, as has been our practice. Jesse also did circulate the vote sheet as well. And as noted on the top of the agenda, there is a new business item. So that's all for me. Jessica, the gavel is yours.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So just a reminder for those in this space, we have 2 mics on each side. So if you are preparing to present, you'll go to a mic, as Frank has. Thank you, Frank. And if you have a question, you need to go to an alternate mic. So we're not going to, for those who are here, we're not passing this mic. You're going to have to go up there. And we're going to really try to do our best to limit back and forth, just because if you speak and are not on a mic, the folks on camera cannot hear you. So, and then we will have one committee, Chelsea Land Use, presenting via Zoom. And as Jeffrey said, we'll do everything in person, followed by Zoom feedback. So with that, we'll start, and we'll start with BLP. Frank, it is yours.
Hi, I'm Frank Halzubiak, the co-chair of the BLP committee. The BLP items were all pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to single out any for discussion, although I will take questions about any of them. I just wanted to give, for a minute, people some idea of what we've been doing. These 12 items were from both our June and July meetings, which is a very small number of BLP matters, probably fewer than I've seen anytime I've been doing this, including at the height of the pandemic. And of those 12, 3 of them were corporate catering licenses in the same business. So essentially non-public licenses. And of the remaining ones, only 2 of them were in spaces that had not been previously licensed. So we're definitely seeing a slowdown, at least for the past couple of months, in the expansion of liquor license premises in the district. And with that, any questions, anybody about the?
I think we have Joe, but just remember, we're going to ask people to say their names in advance of their question for our secretaries. Just 1 second. Yeah, can someone check this mic?
Now?
Yeah.
Sorry. On item number 12, Frank, Joe Restuccio, sorry, board member. On item number 12, it's 750 11th Avenue, and the hours of operations show 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. Thursday to Sunday, yet in the board's unenclosed sidewalk cafe policy, it says only to 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday and 10 p.m. on other days. So was the applicant not willing, or was there some discrepancy between the policy and the recommendation?
The applicant, hold on, let me just make sure I have the right one. No, the applicant agreed to our policy. The stated hours on the form are their indoor hours. And if you look at the question on page 6, they answered that they would comply with their usual closing of the outdoor hours at 10 and 11.
So then could we just modify the letter that clarifies that? It doesn't give the separate indoor outdoor.
Sure. And the thing about the letter is they only go to the board. They don't go anywhere else. It's sort of a summary for the board. So sorry for the mistake, but that letter won't go any further than this.
So it is consistent that they will only be open until 11.
10 on weekdays, 11 on weeknights outside, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have no questions on the Zoom. So we will move on to the next item. We'll turn it to Carrie Keenan, who will present, thank you, Carrie, who will present on Chelsea land use.
Hi, I'm Carrie Keenan, co-chair of Chelsea Land Use. We have 5 letters tonight and a helicopter. That's a different issue. I'm gonna just read through, I'm just gonna give you quick notes on each one, and then we can circle back if you have any questions on any of them. Item 14 is a letter to LPC regarding 458 to 460 West 23rd window replacement. It was a unanimous support for this approval, which rarely happens with our committee. So that was a nice, easy one. 15 is a letter to DSNY and DCAS regarding former colored school number 4 or 128 West 17th. We had a meeting with DSNY and Councilmember Botcher and Councilmember Botcher's representatives to discuss support for DSNY landmarking former color school number 4, which they own. They are in favor of that, but during the meeting, we learned that there's a potential leak in the roof to the point that we heard from council, I believe Councilmember Botcher, that often, untended buildings suffer neglect and therefore become demolished. So this is a letter requesting that we get access to the building to see if there's real damage, and that they fix the roof so there is no further damage. We'd also like to see the inspection report. Item number 16 is a letter to LPC regarding 353 West 20th, rooftop and rear yard addition. This, as you heard a community member speak to, this building has been through several applications to LPC. This most recent one was a new application because the previous one had expired. So we recommended denial of as the entire rear yard would be demolished. The rear yard wall would be demolished and pushed into the further into the courtyard or the donut hole, and the roof would be built even higher. Item number 17 is a letter to the mayor and elected officials regarding the resiting of the EMS station from 23rd Street to West 29th Street. Yay. Thanks to everybody who worked so hard on that. This is a ULURP, which we did vote on and it was approved, but this letter, you'll be seeing that letter in September. But this letter is to the mayor and elected officials because the location for the EMS is also the location for the Gateway Tunnel debris removal siting station, which could delay the move for up to 10 years. So we are urging our local, our elected officials to see if there is a different location for the Gateway project so we can get the EMS station moved into this new site. And finally, 18 is a letter to LPC regarding the stair at Lehigh building. It's a little complicated. There were a number of requests, a rooftop terrace that the committee recommended denial of because it would be visible from many different points on the street, including the piers, and would not be tenant only. It would be open to the public. And recommend for denial of a entrance to an elevator that would lead to that rooftop terrace on 12th Avenue, and a recommendation for approval to change the entrance of 27th Street to create sliding doors instead of swinging doors to accommodate a bike room. And that's it.
Sorry. Oh, thank you, Carrie. I do want to note we did receive a few friendly amendments before the meeting, which will be integrated from Betty, who now has her hand up. So Betty, if there's anything besides what was sent in advance, which we are happy to accommodate, please. Sorry, it seems we have no one here. So yes, we'll go to the Zoom. Betty.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify, Kerry, about number 17 about the EMS station and the ULURP vote. Are we writing another letter after this letter to the mayor then, and clarifying that we are approving the site selection, the ULURP?
Yes, Betty. We're sorry for the sirens. We are currently writing a letter that applies to the ULURP that we'll bring to the full board meeting in September. So this is simply to urge the elected officials to begin looking for a different location for the tunnel debris siting station so that we can in fact move into the EMS station. The EMS station can in fact move into that location.
Okay, I think it's a great advocacy letter for the EMS. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great, we'll go to Kit.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got young kids that are at their bedtime. My question was on 15. I wanted to better understand what we mean by pay to address the potential leak in the roof. There's been a lot in the news and a lot of chatter in the community about budget cuts to the DOE. And at a time when the DOE is trying to figure out how to come out of the pandemic in a as successful way as possible, I think we risk sounding pretty tone deaf if we're asking them to pay potentially to repair a building that's been abandoned for a very long time. So, I very much support the project to landmark this building, and I see the value in sort of advocating for that. But I wonder if we could frame it around, finding philanthropic support or funds that wouldn't sort of be taken away from the DOA operating schools for students for a project related to sort of real estate.
Yeah, thanks, Kit. This is actually a letter to the DSNY. It doesn't have anything to do with the DOE. It's DSNY and DCAS. So the Department of Sanitation owns the building. We may, and someday down the road, once hopefully this building becomes landmark, talk to the DOE about potential use for the building. But this letter is not to the DOE. It's not asking for any funds from them. It's asking DSNY to maintain the building that they own.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you,
Sorry
Carrie.
if I said DOE, by the way. I meant DSNY. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to turn to ACES, and I think we have Alan presenting. Alan, if you'll go, oh no, Kit is going to present, okay. So Kit, back to you for the 2 letters from ACES. And while you are coming off mute, I do just want to note, there are several items that we're hearing about that are actually subject just to ratification. They, due to the meeting cycle, have already been approved by exec and were sent out. So you'll note those on your agenda accordingly. Kit?
Sorry to do this, but Alan, would you actually mind presenting on these 2? We're in the middle of bedtime.
Is Josephine, are you, well, Alan, why don't you go to the mic and you can help quarterback your committee.
Hi, Alan Oster, co-chair ACES. Thank you, Chip. Is Josephine on?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Josephine. Did you want to present on this and just give everybody a background on this, please?
Okay, sure. I'm Josephine Ishman with the ACES committee, MCB4, and I can talk about the busing letter. So basically, this is a letter to the DOE, OPT, and the mayor. I believe the comptroller is also CC'd on it. And we're asking for improved busing, a bus service for students. See, there's the yellow buses that you see that students take to school. They've been having serious problems for decades now, really. But since the pandemic specifically, they've been faced with some very serious driver shortages. So pretty much what we're asking for are, a result of conversations that we've had with People Transportation, which is OPT, that's part of the DOE, and several stakeholders. So the first thing that we're asking for is just a reallocation of funds. And this is something that OPT said that they're considering doing. And so what they would do is create incentives for drivers, monetary incentives, and also pay for driver training to get more people who may want to have this career path interested in coming along. We're also asking them to create pipeline for drivers. So the DOE partnering with vocational schools in order to create a steady influx of drivers. So then when we do have these outbreaks and people are sick, we have driver shortages, and then there's actually a pool of staff to work with. And finally, we're asking for the transparency of bus service. And this is something that we could really use help from the Comptroller's Office on. And that's basically, right now, if you go to the DOE website, there's very little on what's actually happening with the buses, how many buses are actually in service, who is being served by those buses. So we are asking for transparency on that. And this issue was really brought to us in last December, when we had several hundreds of kids that were removed from temporary housing in our district to outer boroughs, like it was less than 30 days notice. And those students were taken out of our schools, PS 33, PS 51, and PS 111. And Iris Gersten has been talking about how those children were not able to get bus service, even though they're entitled to emergency bus service in those situations, but they were not able to get bus service and eventually had to transfer schools midway through the year. And this was just very disruptive to their learning and to the school as well. So those are the things that we were asking for, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Josephine. Seeing no questions.
Just some clarification on the compensation for the drivers, which is controlled basically by the companies, not by DOE. And also, I think we're taking out the language on the ride sharing. Kid sent you some comments on that?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so there might be some changes on the ride sharing, but other than that, we're good to go on that letter.
Okay, Kit.
Thanks, Josephine.
Kit has his hand up, so we'll go to Kit, and then we'll be prepared to take the second letter on Hudson Gill. Kit?
Thanks, Jessica, and thanks, Josephine, for drafting the letter and doing a really nice job of summarizing it. Just to expand on what Alan was saying, 90% of the buses are operated by private companies that set their own compensation policies. So the DOE is in a position to influence vendor behavior, but doesn't dictate it. So we tightened up the language just to clarify that as they have already tried to, and hopefully will have even more success in the future, they should try to influence companies to provide incentives like paying folks to train and things along those lines. And then ride sharing piece was one of the things that OST shared was there are concerns around that because it's a different level of license to drive an Uber than it is to drive a school bus. There are reliability and safety issues that go along with it. So the language in the letter around there will also be stricken.
Thank you, Kit. ACES has a second letter.
Yes, in support of Hudson Guild, established in the late 1800s for the West Side, providing social services, but they have a robust professional arts and cultural program serving the community with professional dancing, plays. They have an art gallery on site. They just opened up a new art gallery in the renovated Fulton Houses Community Center. So our letter is to support them and advocate for resources for them going forward. Wanted to thank Betty for catching something in the last paragraph. The vote should be from the board, not from the committee. But other than that, we're good.
Thank you, Alan. Seeing no questions, we're gonna move to the next topic. We have from Waterfront Parks and Environment, Alice Wang, to present on the next letter. Oh, just 1 second. Can we check her mic?
Hello.
Great.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alice Wang, and I am a CB4 member and also on the WPE committee. This is my first time presenting, so I want to ask everyone to be kind with your questions. Also, because it's my first letter, there's a clarification I want to make. The most recent version of your letter was emailed to you today, so the part that you received in your printed material was not the latest updates. The letter is to focus on providing a plan for curbside recycling. Currently, New York City's recycling program is not as robust as we would like for it to be, and it's not effective. So what we're really asking is for this to be considered as curbside recycling is available across the city, and that legislation, with the focus on legislation, because currently there is no legislation or cultural support that will provide for long-term goals. And so I'm making it short and brief. That's the gist of the letter. I have received friendly amendments already. Does anyone have any questions?
Congratulations, Alice. Okay, we have our next committee, transportation. We have Dale.
Hi, everyone. We have a mess of letters. Okay. So the first 22 is a letter to DDC about the upcoming water main project down 7th Avenue. 23 is about ADA compliance at the 14th Street Station. 24 and 25 concern our curb survey. And we've had a couple of friendly amendments to clarify the summary language of that letter, which we will do. Thank you for the suggestions. 26 has already been sent. It's a letter about the MTA substation project on 28th Street. So it's to be ratified tonight. 27 has also been sent in the interest of the time frame of the project. It's about the shared streets design on Hudson Boulevard East. 28th is a letter to DOT and Port Authority about the fairly dangerous conditions of 42nd and Dyer for pedestrians. 29 is a letter to the DOT about 8th Avenue pedestrian improvements along the corridor for between 34th and 51st. Basically, we're getting a whole new pedestrian walkway expansion. 30 and 31 are about the improvements on 9th Avenue behind Moynihan Station. There's a letter to the DOT and there's a letter to Vornado, which is undertaking some sidewalk improvements. Any questions about any of these letters?
We have no questions online. Yes. Nice. Wow. Oh no, Joe is getting ready for his next.
Jessica, there's one question.
I'm sorry, thank you. See, Dale, we need you to get back up there. Sorry.
Questions. I was
Marty.
just kidding about that anyway.
Marty, you have a question.
Yes, Marty.
You are muted.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be the one that's dropping in the questions. I just, I want to make a couple of comments about 26 and 30 and 31.
Okay.
The 26 is a much improved version over the one I saw before. I know that this is a ratification. The line that says that although the Penn South community, which surrounds this site, has serious concerns and reservations about the location of such a project in their midst, that's a great line. It's not strong enough. I think the board should be taking a position against the siting of this transfer station. And because it's not doing that, I'm going to vote against 26. 30 and 31 both have embedded in them. In fact, 31 is mostly about creating bikes in what is already parking. We are so squeezing out available parking in our district that I think it is inappropriate to squeeze out that much more, and I must vote against both of those letters as well.
Oh, so you don't have any specific suggestions for the letters, you're just announcing your vote?
I'm announcing the reason for my voting against it. The 30 and 31, I mean, if you took out, particularly in 30, which is basically a good letter, if you took out line 26 that says city bike parking established city bike in a parking lane, I would vote for it. So and 31 is all about establishing a city bike. So
well, the location is in front of a train station. So we felt the need to have different mobilities accessible to the train station.
That may be the case, but our district is so squeezing out parking that this is an additional assault.
Understood. Okay, thanks.
Dale, we do, sorry, Marty, was there anything else? No, okay. We have also,
Thanks, Marty.
we now have Brad and Betty. Brad, we'll start with you.
Hey, Dale, quick question regarding in each letter, the construction hours. I'd like to get your take. I mean, I've worked nights on streets and the amount of time it saves in the schedules is quite a bit. And I know in each letter it says, hey, we want to work regular hours. I just want to know the total thought process. I saw the one letter, it said the neighbors, it was a quiet street, but you know, the amount of time it takes for these guys to work at night, it goes much quicker. And I think that's something that needs to be considered and talked about a little bit. And
Sure.
what was their feedback? Did they want to work nights? Just curious.
Okay,
Or maybe
sorry.
there's a blend that could be done. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I missed which letters you're referring to about the nighttime.
In most of your letters, in every one of them, it says we want daily hours. They're going to be working 24 hours underground, but above ground, they want to work. We want them working standard hours, 8 to 3 or 8 to 5, 7 to 3. So I'm just wondering where that comes from. Did they request to work at night? And I also think as the consideration of the schedule, what is the improvement if they do work at night? So we can kind of make a better judgment. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, I really wish I knew which specific letter you were referring to, but I will speak generally about this.
Letter number 22.
22.
Letter number 23 also talks about the construction hours, Dale.
Great. All right, so I'll take 22 first. So in the case of 22, yes, it is along 7th Avenue mostly in Chelsea between 14th Street and 34th Street. And a lot of the adjacent blocks are heavily residential. So the balance is if you do nighttime work, usually pay a higher hourly for the contractors, and you disrupt traffic less. If you do nighttime work for the residents, you disrupt their sleep. So the balance that's being sought is between disrupting traffic along 7th Avenue for a period versus disrupting the sleep patterns of tens of thousands of residents during that same period. So that was the discussion that we had. And we're making a recommendation because it seems like the default position, especially for DDC, has been if there are major traffic disruptions anticipated by a project like this, we need to take it to nighttime work. And we have a suspicion that there's been a kind of creep in this direction, whereby the contractors love these nighttime contracts because they're highly lucrative for them. So we're asking them to re-examine their priorities. Do we want to have traffic disruptions, or do we want to have sleep disruptions for tens of thousands of residents? And maybe there is a balance to be struck. 23, that's going to be work that's predominantly underground. That's all underground work. It's in the stations. So let me just get to it because I don't have it in front of me.
So Dale, I appreciate that, but my question really was, you know, they pay the same rate at night as they do during the day because it's slotted hours. So I don't know where it's saying it's significantly more. Their deliveries are easier to get and their production's higher. So I don't know where that's coming that it's more expensive. But my real question is the question been asked is, will it reduce the time frame of the actual project? And that was my main question on, will the hours help?
That was feedback from the DDC, who confirmed that nighttime contracts are generally higher in cost because of the labor rates. So they did confirm that. But again,
yeah, that's really our deal because they work standard schedules. It's overtime like anything else. They work shifted hours. So I've never heard of that before. That's really interesting.
Okay, yeah, the question was asked, it was answered. So, and that was the answer that we were provided.
So yeah, my main one is, and I'm not just in general, I'm not against the letters, I get it. I'm just wondering, what is the difference in schedule? Does it reduce it by 6 months if they work nights? Or is this, that's all, that's really my main question.
And to that was one of the things we put to them as well. Like, what would how would it affect duration to, you know, work daytime versus nighttime, or mix it up over phases? So.
Okay, perhaps we can just ask that transportation consider this topic at a future meeting and explore this more thoroughly. Brad, does that work for you?
Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Betty. Betty has one more question for Dale.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Dale. I didn't make it to write an email. It's a tiny little edit. Item number 23 about the West 14th Street Station. Line 20 says the project will start in June 2022 and end in June 2024. Has the project started?
I'm gonna have to check on that, Betty. I'm not 100% sure of that timeline.
Okay, just maybe double check so it doesn't look silly.
Sure.
That's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Betty.
It would say has started instead of will. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you, Dale.
Okay.
You're off the hook. Now we'll go back to Joe for housing. Yeah, Joe.
I'm Joe Restuccia, Co-Chair Housing, Health and Human Services. And tonight we have the update to the Affordable Housing Plan. You have a cover memo that came with the plan. The plan was first adopted in 2015 with the new mayor, then new mayor, Bill de Blasio. Our community board went through all sorts of sites in construction, under review, sites that were proposed, and we also proposed zoning actions across the entire neighborhood and across the entire district. That plan was updated in 2016. It was updated again in 2019. And of course, we had a hiatus with COVID. And in 2022, with again a new mayor, we began to review the entire plan section by section. The first part of the plan was brought to you at our last meeting, which was adopted. This is the balance of the plan, along with the actual introduction that now updates the sections. It's the narrative of the plan that were presented. Board members, I'm asking those who are here in the audience in person or those who are at home, have most people been able to review the plan and at least to go through it in total? I'm getting a yes in general, and at home too, I'm seeing the same thing, yes. So this is a plan that is full of detail, and we are going to adopt the second portion tonight, plus the revised narrative. This has gone through the committee all through this year. It's been there 3 times, and there are slides attached, very specific site by site. We have already adopted the sections that are the sites completed, the sites under construction, and the sites under public review, the sites completed public review, under public review, and those in the HPD development pipeline. Tonight, we're looking at the sites that are in the Empire State development pipeline. We grouped all the state sites together because they're all being looked at once with the new administration in Albany. The Port Authority Bus Terminal is a new project to the plan. It did not exist in the prior version. We have some federal sites pulled together, and then we have new aspects. Illegal demolition, we're putting in the plan for the first time to note just how many units we've lost to illegal demolition over the past 6 years. Chelsea NYCHA, which we talked about extensively last year, a new section added. 421A, affordability, expiring units. We had that section in for a long time, but now it's critical because many of those expiration dates are coming due in the next 5 to 6 years. And then we have a summary altogether. Then a full section about proposed zoning and zoning text amendments. The majority of those have absolutely been in the plan. The only new thing we're talking about are rezoning, and also Empire State Development Site is the Intrepid parking lot on 11th Avenue between 44th and 45th Streets. That's our only new item. Otherwise, these have all been in the plan for many years. And that's pretty much it. I'll take any entertaining questions on specific items in the plan.
Paul, you have a question on the plan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, put it down.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Devlin. Joe, this is robust. It's incredible. The amount of work that has gone into this is astounding. And I learned so much from it. The questions I raised at the first phase of the approval, I think I want to try to see if we can build some framework around that as well. Part of my issue with this as a plan is that I have 2 kind of issues with it. One is it doesn't seem to have like a framework. Like, how many housing units do we need? Do we want 30% of all housing units across the district to be affordable? Like, we have a great inventory here of all the ones that are existing. We have a great inventory of what needs to be stabilized. We have an inventory of what's going offline because of 420A abatement reductions. We have what's going offline because of illegal demolition. But it doesn't feel like there's a summary of what we actually need, so we can say we can prioritize. We need to make sure that we ensure that the 421A abatement expirations are replaced if they don't change the law that impacts those units. So this inventory is it's amazing, but I don't feel like there's a framework for it. And then from that, I would suggest then we say, what are our priorities, right? So the zoning changes that have been in here for a long time, do we actually need those, right? So for us to have zoning changes come to land use committee and go through that process, we actually need that. And so I'd ask if there's some way that we can frame the context of how many units we need, what the growth projections are for our community, and what we need to support the growth that we want to see. And then what steps do we take and prioritize? Stabilize NYCHA, replace 421A. And then the last thing should be rezoning West Chelsea District or Clinton Preservation District. So I'd like to have some.
Sure. You may have missed one of the documents that was sent was a Word document out of PowerPoint. That is a full narrative, section by section, laying out the history of what's happened in the community, what has been built, but more important, why we are focusing on each individual priority. And it is about,
No, I did read through some of that, but it didn't come clear to me sort of what is a summary, what is the framing of it?
Again,
it went through site by site, very detailed.
No, not the site by site. The narrative is about 28 pages that lays out the sections, the specific the specific areas we're focusing on, why we're focusing on them. It starts out with a history of affordable housing in the district, what has been built in various areas, and then begins to go into specific areas of concern. So for example, there's a whole new section about Chelsea NYCHA, why we worked on it, what we did, and what we accomplished. Those things were not there before. So it's not just the series of sites, it's the full narrative that lays out why we did something. Now, if going forward, you believe that we need to sharpen the narrative, make further additions to it. So for example, at our Housing, Health, and Human Services Committee, we suggested that we also take the full affordable housing inventory that we have as a entire separate document and incorporate it by reference in this. That we agreed to. We said we would do that probably in September, October, after we review it and update it. So I think it's the two pieces together that actually lay out the framework. The sites alone or the sections alone don't tell you the story. This document does.
No, and I did read through that, and I'm feeling like the way it was written, maybe it isn't a comprehensive plan and strategy in my mind. So
right. Again, please feel free as we go forward. Also, I want to know one thing for all the board members. This is a living document. We have revised this, adopted it, changed it many, many times. We're going to continue to do this. And we did note at the Housing, Health, and Human Services Committee that we are sending this document to the both land use committees just to look at this in general and make any comments on specific things or broad things that we can incorporate it again. The Housing, Health, and Human Services Committee looks forward to taking this up again in the fall and making further changes to it because it has to live and breathe.
Great, thank you.
Joe, we also have a question from Betty.
Yeah, hi. Betty McIntosh again. I just want to first say, this is one of the most amazing documents that we have. I've seen it evolve over the years, and each year it's getting more and more relevant and meaningful. And this year, if you read it, there's a nice pie chart about income area, you know, so take a look, be sure you see that nice pie chart in it. And I'm glad, Joe, that you said a part that we will be going back to the land use committees and if necessary, more feedback could be given on maybe particular sites or, you know, the zoning. And I was hoping that the cover memo would say something along that line. You know, I mean, you said it verbally tonight, but maybe you could put something in the beginning of the memo. That's it.
The cover memo was just for the board members, and you had emailed me earlier, and I will sort of revise that so it's clear exactly what the process is going forward to the membership.
Okay, thanks. Great job.
Joe, you have one more letter?
Yes. I have to.
It's the letter to HPD.
HPD staffing. Roberta wrote this. I want to say thank you very much for putting this together. This letter is about HPD's 30% lack of employees to staff its operations. It is now, we have learned on multiple occasions, we've had buildings coming to us, tenants, small affordable co-ops, rental buildings. They cannot get a project manager in order to apply, for example, a tax exemption. They cannot get a project manager to apply for a loan. They have facades falling off. They cannot get a project manager. This is a major issue. We've written to the mayor on this because HPD is simply not able to do its job. It has tens of millions of dollars of capital budget money it cannot spend because it does not have adequate staff to manage. I actually met at the 7th Avenue groundbreaking and 22nd Street with the Deputy Commissioner Kim Darga, and we talked about this specifically, maybe combine projects, do something where you can have one project manager handling multiple projects. And they're very open to trying to figure out a way to make this work. But this is a serious, serious matter. And this calls for HPD to come up with strategies to actually hire staff to get the programs to work.
Thank you, Joe. It doesn't appear we have any questions. So we're now going to move to, we'll remember we have new business, item number 34. And Paul will, I believe, are you presenting on that? You are. Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. Paul Devlin. So we heard tonight that this redistricting proposal for the city council is happening. They've already had a series of hearings that none of us really participated in because we didn't think there was any jeopardy for us. And the hearings are now being scheduled for August 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So I'd like to suggest that we as a board send in a letter declaring our position in opposition to the breaking up of Hell's Kitchen into 3 city council districts. This is in line with what the position we took around the state assembly district boundaries. We talked about the need to have the community district boundaries respected and the neighborhoods of both Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen united as we are a district. And so we can use a lot of that language the same, but there are 2 other issues that are different in the city redistricting. They have 2 very important points. One is what they title keeping the neighborhood intact. And clearly by looking at the maps, you can see that Hell's Kitchen is divided into thirds. So we can very succinctly say, keep Hell's Kitchen intact. And that would be a strong argument with the Redistricting Commission. The second issue is one area of great concern is what they call the community of interest. In Hell's Kitchen, we have the Special Clinton Preservation District. That is a community of interest. And if this new proposed lines come in, it will break that district into thirds. And having 3 council members protecting our Special Clinton district, we get challenged by it all the time. We went through it with the MTA site and the rezoning of the underlying component. And it took a lot of work with Eric Botcher to make sure that we protected the Special Clinton district. So from my perspective, I think it's really important that we have a letter that says, keep the community district boundaries similar, keep the neighborhoods together, keep Hell's Kitchen intact, and protect our community of interest, which is the Special Clinton district.
Okay, if people in person will go first, please go to a mic and then you'll have the chance to speak. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
Waiting for the mic to come. It's on. Okay, great. Chris LeBron, member of the board. Paul, this is just possibly a friendly amendment. While keeping in mind the Clinton Special Zoning District as a sub-portion of Hell's Kitchen, the census numbers from 2020 has shown that Hell's Kitchen has become a 50+% minority majority community. AAPI, Hispanics, African Americans make up the majority of Hell's Kitchen now. And along with the general prerequisite to consider the natural boundaries of a community, the other thing that we need to make sure redistricting is that we don't dilute minority vote. And so the proposed Council District 3 lines, Council District 4 lines, and 2 and 1 lines actually increase the number of general population in all 4 districts who are white and diminish the number of voting age population who are minority. Council District 3 gains close to 2% in white population. If we were to propose a map or look at a map that would consider what was adopted by this board with the assembly lines, Council District 3 actually becomes closer to becoming a majority minority voting age population group. It increases in AAPI and Hispanic vote as well. So if you would consider those numbers coming out of the census, I would vote yes on this. Thank you.
If it's up to me, I accept the friendly amendment.
Dale, you want to go to the mic?
Thanks, Paul, for raising this. I asked Ali before he left about if there was any guidance in their process for redistricting city council districts for them to be, if not coterminous, respect or align with the boundaries of community districts. And he said that was a general guideline. They're not going to match because of just because of the way the districts are drawn, but we could make reference to like the bounds of the community district as a guiding element in the mix.
Yeah, Dale, I agree with you. And I think that that would be echoing our position on the state assembly district. And that would be sort of the intro to the conversation, and then bring up these other points, Hell's Kitchen as a whole, Special Clinton district, and Chris's points about minority representation. I agree.
Okay, we have, thank you, Paul. We have 2 hands raised. Jeffrey.
Thanks, Jessica. And I'm really glad this is coming out of new business. Thank you, Paul, for the chat today on it. And Lowell, thank you also for sort of setting the bar on this. We have a strong framework because of the letter we passed last year. And I just wanted to sort of raise the flag to note that anything that comes out of this letter will hew to the civics, not the politics of the issue, because it is a letter coming from the community board. So just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you.
Thank you. And then we have JD.
Thank you, JD Nolan. I want to second Paul's terrific suggestion and Dale and Chris's additions. So here's a second for that letter.
Okay, we're not voting yet, but we thank you for that. It looks like we have no other questions. So thank you, Paul.
Do I make the motion and accept JD's second? Is that the way we handle this?
I don't think that's necessary. We're going to do a roll call vote. So I think you've just taken all the feedback and we'll revise the letter.
Thank you.
Great. So with that, we have no new business. So I think we'll move to a roll call vote, and Blake, I think we'll be handling that. I don't believe your partner in crime is not here with you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so turn it to Blake. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Noble, it seems. I'm so sorry. Mike, did you have a question on Paul?
I do. How do we denominate this new business item on the vote sheet?
So
it'll be item number 34, sorry.
Item 34, not 35, 34?
34.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Blake, back to you.
All right, so please, for the people online, submit your vote sheet that was sent over online earlier today. And then for the folks in person, there's the printout that you can provide back to Jesse. I would just say 17 and 18 don't have a divider line there, but we do need 2 check marks for those as separate items. So I'm going to call the roll in alphabetical as usual. Ted Arenas. Roberta. Christine.
She's not here.
Gwen.
Gwen is not here.
Leslie Murphy.
Yes or no?
Viren.
Viren is not here.
Jessica.
Yes to all.
Dale.
Yes on all.
Aurora. Marty.
Yes on all except 26, 30, and 31.
Paul. Pete. Tina.
Yes to all.
Wendy.
I don't think Wendy's here.
Matt Green.
Present not eligible for number 18, yes to all.
Jesse Greenwald. Candace.
Yes to all.
David Holokwa.
Not here.
Frank.
He's on. Frank, you're on. He called in.
Frank. I can come back. Josephine.
Yes to all.
Yadira. Peggy.
Yes to all.
Carrie.
Abstain on 17, yes to all, the rest.
Lowell.
Yes to all.
I'm voting yes to all. Bert. Chris.
Yes to all.
Betty.
Yes to all.
Sarah Mills.
Yes to all.
Tina.
Yes to all.
Tina Nelson. Thank you. Mike Noble,
No on 16, yes to the rest.
JD,
Yes to all.
Maria, Ellen, Brad,
No on 18, abstain 22 and 23. Yes to the rest.
Joe, Sabrina,
T&E to 33 and yes to all is what, right?
great. Thank you. Dolores,
Yes to all.
David Solnick,
I don't think he's on. No, not here.
is Katie on?
No.
Charlie?
Yes to all. Yes to all.
Thank you. Kit,
No on 18, yes to everything else.
Hector,
Not here.
Renal, James Wallace,
Congrats to Jesse for a flawless hybrid meeting. Hard to do. He made it look easy. Yes to all.
David Warren,
Yay to all.
Leslie Williams,
Yes to all.
Carl,
Yes to all.
Alice. Is Frank on? And we'll end with Jeffrey.
Thanks, Blake. Easy for me tonight. Yes to all.
Great, all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. All right, well, with no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you to the board staff.